That's still a hard money. Yeah, that's still hard money. Like I said, we got our own lender that works with us, Pimlico Funding. Did you guys use Pimlico?
The company that Charles talked about, Pimlico.
Yeah, and they work with all of my mastermind students. I mean, these guys are like a godsend. All we got to do is say, earn, this is a deal, and 9 times out of 10 they'll fund it.
Yep.
Yes.
And how much upfront money did you and you both had to put in order with your deal?
Good question. Your total out-of-pocket cost.
This one, I think it was like $15,000 or $17,000, which was also negotiable. Like they negotiate with you. It could have been lower, could have been higher, but also between points, like everything's negotiable with Pimlico. So.
And you?
Yeah, for our deal, we had to put up about 25,000 because the hard money is they give you 80% of the ARV, but they give you 100%
Of the purchase.
80% of the purchase price,
Yeah.
but 100% of the rehab cost. So I mean,
Right.
you do have to come to the table with someone. Yeah.
Now, how can you come to the table with some money? Partner.
Right.
Partner. So, if you partner with somebody, hey, you bring the money to the table, I'm willing to give you ABC of the deal when we close it. So that's one of the ways in which you can do it if you don't have the money. We're always looking for opportunities. My telephone number is 443-925-2860. My wife and I are always looking for deals. So we'll partner with you. We'll do wholesale. We'll do rehab. I gave you the markets we're interested in. You're looking for deals too? What's your
Always.
number?
410-903-6620.
That's Bob
Yeah,
Stroud.
Bob Stroud.
And Norman, you're looking for deals. You got any particular areas you're interested in?
All the zip codes that Charles mentioned.
You're in PA, you're in PA too, right?
Anywhere in PG County, and of course anywhere in Washington D.C. And we also invest in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania as well.
And Norm, you?
Phone number is 973-517-2441. All the zip codes that.
973.
Telephone.
Oh, 973-517-2441. And all the zip codes that Charles mentioned, as well as Mount Vernon.
Yeah, he wants Mount Vernon too.
Mount Vernon, as well as, what was it, Bolton Hill?
Mm-hmm. And Bolton Hill.
And Bolton Hill.
So, I gave you guys 3 ways in which you can get the actual deals. One is absentee owners list. Another one is failure to pay rent notices. Another one is Craigslist or any directory site where you can call it up. The key to this business is consistency. You can also use bandit signs in this particular neighborhoods that you're interested in, but you got to be very careful with that. Door hangers. We also use door hangers and door knocking simultaneously. Our door hangers have company information, but we also knock on all the doors we do door hanging on. And I'll give you my basic script. My basic script that I use when we're knocking on doors is we'll have a door hanger in our hand, and we'll knock on the door, we'll step back, and we'll say, hey, Mr. Homeowner, we're looking to buy 5 to 7 houses in your neighborhood. If you know anybody interested in selling, please let me know. Oh, by the way, you wouldn't be interested in selling your property, would you? Now, the reason why we do that is you don't want anybody to think you're targeting them. So we start the conversation off letting them know that we're looking to buy 5 to 7 houses in that neighborhood. And then we ask them at the end of the conversation, by the way, you wouldn't be interested in selling, would you? And then the last thing we do, if they say no, is, also, we pay between $3,000 to $5,000, $500 to $3,000 as a finder's fee for house information. So here's my door hanger. Please keep it with you. If you know anybody that's interested in selling, please give me a call. So now we're making that whole neighborhood as part of our bird dogs. So that's our actual elevator pitch, or should I say that's our actual sales pitch that we make when we're actually talking to homeowners, when we're doing door knocking and so on. Any other questions?
So you wouldn't pay them unless you ended up making the house into a deal?
That's correct. That's on any deal that we close, we'll pay them on. So the key now is we got the property situation where we have our team in place. We're choosing our marketing strategies. Now you got to basically be able to know all your numbers because everyone up here knows their numbers. Bob knows down to the dollar how much he spent on his property. Norman knows down to the dollar how much he spent on his property. How often did you come to your project when it was being worked on?
Oh, I was here a lot. And I work in Northern Virginia, so I was here like at least 2, 3, 4 times out the week.
And that's from a guy from Northern Virginia. Bob, how often you guys was at your projects?
We probably went down there maybe 3 or 4 days a week, probably like every other day.
And that's the key.
Yeah.
The reason behind that, the similarity is you want to make sure that if any issue comes up, it's not a week or 2 week delay in your project.
Yeah.
You find that issue that day or the next day. So you can solve that project, and it's not a situation where the project is delayed. And that's how money is basically wasted. That's how you lose your money and you go over budget. Are you on budget with your project?
Oh yeah, we're on budget. Right.
You?
Thankfully, yes. Given all the situations.
Now,
yes.
he's going to tell you about one of his life lessons on this deal. Talk about one of the things you've decided that you're going to do on all your projects when you get them, when you put them in this type of situation.
You want to talk about the BG issue or the plumbing?
The plumbing issue.
All right, so on properties in Baltimore, some of the sewer line or the front line could be broken, and you could rehab the whole entire house, and it's outside the house, but it's on your land still, and it costs around anywhere from $6 to $10 grand for it to be fixed. So I had that happen to me in one of my other properties. After it's completely done, the tenant moved in, and all the sewage backed up into the house, and I didn't know what to do. So I called Rotorua at first, and the initial, just for them to get the clog out and find it, was around like $500 or $700. I forgot how much. I think it was $700. But then to fix it, the actual problem outside in the street, and they found it was going to be $8 grand. So I started doing research, and I called him because I was like, what the hell do I do now? Like, I can't afford this. I did some research. I was looking for insurance, plumbing insurance. Baltimore City has a deal. So the only insurance you could use here in Baltimore City, I think, is called Home Serve USA. It cost me probably for the whole year $40. And then they came out, looked at it. It's a one-time, that thing is $100, and they fixed everything. So
look at that. Look at that situation. You get insurance on your property before. Now, I'm be honest with you. I know somebody that did this. I'm not going to say any names, but I know somebody that did this. You can turn the video off now.
Thanks, Corey.
Thank you, Corey. I appreciate it. I know a person who had that as an existing condition to the rehab. And they knew that they were going to be hit with an $8,000 bill. So what they did was they hired the insurance, got the insurance for $60, $80, and they waited 30 days and made a claim. And then the claim went through, and they fixed the problem for them. And the issue was existing.
yeah.
Did they do the whole $8,000 repair, or they just kind of?
They did the
No,
whole.
they dig up the backyard,
Yep.
replace the whole thing. Yeah, they replaced the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so after that, I just got the whole insurance for the whole entire, all my properties. Now, it didn't cost more than like $244 for the year.
So that's a $1,000 saver right there.
Yeah.
$244 insurance policy for the year that will save you $8,000 to $10,000 on your outside sewer line issue.
So is that similar to the backup sewer addendum, or is that basically something different that a homeowner would have on the property? You know, the backup sewer addendum that you can add to your insurance policy if something happens. Is that the same as that, or is it something different?
It's a little different, and here's why it's a little different, because this one is with the city.
Oh,
Yeah.
The city sanctioned that company.
Yeah.
So they are the ones that are basically dealing with this problem, and the city say, go ahead, use them, they'll pay for it, policy $240 a year, you're good to go.
What's the name of the insurance?
It's Home Serve USA.
Home
So-
Serve
And when
USA.
I say 240, that's including the whole house. I mean, internal, external, HVAC, everything. Just the sewer line was like
Yes.
$16 or $40 for the year. I
So
forgot.
listen to what it is, the whole house. It's not just the sewer line. Now, let's talk about something that you guys ain't gonna believe. The dishwasher, the actual refrigerator, the actual stove, and the actual wash machine and dryer, total cost $800. Now, this one I can't give you. But the total cost, now, let's go into why the cost was $800, because it's a little scratch and dent situation.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So these are second-hand appliances, of course, rental, but some of them look brand new. So you pay per how new they look, the condition. So, but yeah, I don't know how to go any further other than that. But yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I want you guys to walk through the property. Open up the refrigerator. The Bauer.
So like even for like a double door refrigerator, it's probably like $50 more. You get black stainless steel. It's to the point where some of my family members are getting it for their actual homes. They look brand new. Like instead of paying $3,000, they're paying like $1,000 for everything that look brand new. You gotta go through him.
Yeah, well, I can't tell you all, guys. That's for my mastermind. I can't tell you guys all. But what I'm saying is, if you look around, search hard. Everything is about searching. Everything is about doing your research. Don't just do one thing and then stop and say this. In fact, I always tell people this isn't a hobby. Treat it like it's an actual life. Like you got to breathe into it every day to keep it resuscitated. Because that's what this business is. You got to breathe into the business every day to keep it breathing. You have to do that every day. And the beautiful part about this business, and I say this all the time, is that when you're in this business, when you're a transaction engineer like Bob, transaction engineer like Norman, you don't get paid by hour, you get paid by thought. So if you think of a strategy, you think of a structure, you think of a way to make money, you can make it come to reality. Because he has all the knowledge and all the knowledge behind it where he can say, this month I'm going to make $30,000. Next month I'm going to take 2 weeks off. I'm only going to make 15. And he can come up with a plan to actually make $30,000, $15,000. That's the beauty of entrepreneurship. That's the beauty of being in this business. You can decide how much you want to make each and every month if you're willing to put forth the effort. That's the key. And where most people fail is that the gurus tell them you can push a button and now you got a deal coming and you can do this and you can sit on your couch and eat Cheetos and watch Power and man, you are living large. I'm serious. It doesn't work like that. The reality of this business is you really got to grind. 3 things you want to know. If you're a wholesaler, you might as well say you have a job. Because you will always be a wholesaler because you have to keep deals coming in order to make money. So you will always have the job of wholesaling. Just because you're not working full time and you're just doing wholesaling, you have to maintain those deals coming in. So you will always have the job of wholesaling. Same thing with rehabbing. Even though you make large lump sums of income, the minute you stop rehabbing, if you didn't save enough money, that money's going to run out. But when you're doing buying and holding, now you're talking about generational wealth because he can do on his deals, he could do 15-year mortgages, he could do 30-year mortgages. He could get in the property already with equity in it like he's doing, and he can have the tenant pay the mortgage down. Now it's free and clear. Now he's living off of the income, not only from the monthly income, but from an asset that is free and clear. That's the difference between the strategy of buying and holding and any other strategy out there. This is the number one strategy for generational wealth, for wealth that you can pass down to your family. And most investors strive to get into buying and holding, multifamily or commercial investing because of that particular reason. I'm not telling you wholesaling doesn't work, because we do wholesaling. Rehabbing works. I'm not telling you that. But if you're looking for long term, you're looking for something that you can lay back and let it do the work for you, buying and holding to rent is the strategy. And it doesn't have to be buying too, because I use the term buying today. You can actually control to rent. You can take over somebody else's property and rent that property out for cash flow. So it's not necessarily buying. So that's where the whole misnomer come into play, where people thinking they got to have great credit and all that stuff. Corey Banks is a fine example of that. Corey had 2 or 3 houses that he just controlled, didn't put a single dime down, used the money from the actual income, and actually took that property, made $1,000 something a month, and he just controlled it, renting it out as rooms and so on. I mean, I want you to master one strategy, but once you master that one strategy, add more tools to it, because that's what I call being a transaction engineer. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Norman, I want you to tell us the process of putting this all together, the rehab. How did you do it?
So putting together the everything, like you're talking about
The
from
rehab work.
the rehab work. So basically, well, Charles had a lot to do with that as well, right? So
Yeah.
he went through the whole process of the draw schedule. Like that's your plan, right? So you have the framing. Wait, how did it start? Outside, it was outside first.
Right.
The
Demolition.
demolition. Then it was like the framing. You had the electrical, the plumbing, the HVAC. You had the finishes and everything. So after we put the list together, I just started doing research. Like for example, all this tile here is 33 cents, right? So I bought almost all their stock, and it was like $600, but it's enough for 3 or 4 houses. So I went to different things and like started to find where I could find these deals, and started to cost them out. I sent them like an Excel spreadsheet of every line item, where the link was or where I went and sourced it, and he would give me an idea if it was too expensive or not. So once I had that plan, it was basically just executing. So because I GC'd it too, is the camera rolling?
No.
I was able to inflate my prices or not when I go to the hard money lender. Right?
Now, you can go home now.
But
I don't know. I don't know if I want you to hear this one, Anthony. But one of the strategies, you're doing a refi, so you're good.
yeah,
You're good.
yeah.
One of the strategies that we do to make sure we can get some money in or cushion into the deal is that if we control the actual rehab and the rehab cost of the project, we can give the hard money lender a number of 80 when it only costs us 70,
Yeah.
which allows us to have 10,000 overages to cover any issues or
Any
anything that may
issues.
come up. But we still have a good deal because the number still works.
Yeah.
That's the key. The number still has to work. That's the key.
Yeah, that's your fee.
Well, it didn't turn out to a fee because there's a lot of issues. So once we did all of that, then it's now me working with the contractors. So as a GC yourself, you could pull certain things personally. Like I didn't have to get a license for a lot of things because I'm GC as the owner. Other things like your electrical, your plumbing, your HVAC, I had to get I'm a licensed individual and get the work done. So I manage those different subcontractors to get that done. But stuff like this counter outside the plumbing, the floors, the tile, you don't need a license for that, or the demolition. You just put it in with the city. You have to pay a fee, and they'll come out and inspect everything. So at each step of the way, which I learned, I got to know the city very well. Every inspector is different. One inspector could come in and say you just need to fix this. The second time someone comes like, I don't care about that, but that's wrong. So it's like working with the city and making a relationship with all of them. So when they come in, they feel good about themselves, they have a good day, and they just end up passing me half the time now because it's a relationship thing. I'm starting to realize it's not just hands off like, yeah, just look at the property and come back to me.
And one of the things is either have donuts or be ready to take them to lunch.
Yes, which I have. Like right now, I could call some of the city inspectors to come look at my property before I even touch it for me and tell me, Norman, do this, and you'll be fine. So it's like, it's all about the relationships.
And that's the key. That's the key. Make them feel important. Stroke their hair if they have it. All that good stuff. And it can be a challenge to maneuver around the city. I know a person who had an issue where, and this was actually a combination of 2 issues. One of which was the contractor backed out of the deal and was nowhere to be found after the project had started. And the main issue with that is they paid the contractor almost 75% up front. Never, never do that. The other issue was once they got the property to the point where they came out of their pocket and put money into it to finish up the work, come to find out, when they had the inspector come out to actually sign off on everything, there was liens on the property that should have been paid off at title and it wasn't. So he purchased a property that had liens on it. So that's an issue with the title company that he's resolving right now with the title company as to why those liens wasn't discovered prior to closing. So those are just hidden issues that could come out there. Another one where you came across one where there was a fraudulent report made on one of the properties. Tell me about that.
That was actually here. So this is a lesson that I learned. So this project took me a long time. The last one was like 2 months. This one has taken me almost going on 7 to 8 months. So BG&E, when I bought this property, it was kind of a little bit more, a little condemned, I would guess, right? So there wasn't a gas meter downstairs, and it needed a heavy up. So I got a licensed electrician to do the heavy up. He pulled a ticket with BG&E.
Now, a heavy up is basically upgrading the service coming into the property to a higher electrical amount. For example, it could be an 100 amp service,
Yeah.
and he upgraded to 200 amp.
So he's doing the work, and then I call him BG&E and I said, hey, like, there's no meter here. They were telling me that yes, there is one, and we went back and forth until they came out. So when BG came out, they saw the work the contractor was doing and assumed that I was stealing power and cut the line, and then told me they're not going to do anything on for the gas until the fraud cases. They put me in a fraud case on me until we find out if you're stealing power or not. So it's the same company working on both ends but not talking to each other. So I couldn't do anything for 6 months. I was running over the city trying to meet people in person, trying to get everything done, but I would just sit in a queue until someone would call me.
And that's because BG&E put this property down as fraud being done because they thought somebody was stealing electricity.
Yeah.
So that's something that you really want to be careful of. I know investors that do that. Investors that do tap off of other electric lines so they can get projects started. But you just got to make sure, like I said, if the BG&E finds that out, they will hold your project up for months. And the good part about this is all that he went through, and he still made a profit. And he's still under budget. And it's buying right.
Yeah.
That's the key. You have to buy. You make your money when you buy. You realize it when you sell or when you rent or refi. That's the key.
So there's no interest or monthly payments on hard money?
So that's what I was just about to say, right? So you know that money you said, well, at least or someone said I had that 10 grand or whatever to play with? That was protection, right? So during that time, I am paying on that hard money lender. I had generators running in here from my contractors, and the neighbors were pissed to get work done. So there's so many things that are happening, or things that they had to come at daytime to see what they could. It was a difficult situation, but I had that cushion. Like he said, I bought right. So even if I was paying out of my own pocket for the hard money lender, when I refi out, I'm getting all that money back because of where I bought the property at.
So remember, the property was said to have 80,000 worth of work when it only needed 70. So that extra 10 cushion covered those days where it was extra time on the market.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Any advice to not make that happen on any other projects?
So, all right. So I'll say this first, right? So, I look at these properties, like I told Charles, was like a college education, right? You pay all this money to go to school, but you leave, you might not have a job, but you have that education, right? With this, I know I'd at least break even, but I had the education to now do whatever next. So I learned one thing from one property, something next. The third one might be something else, but it's an educational thing where I know I'll be okay once I'm out of it because the numbers are right. Like if they're not right, I have Charles to call. Like I'll say, what do I do? What can I do to get out of it? But so I mean, the first one we did together, I learned that's how I really got friendly with the city. I learned a ton on that project. This one was a lot smoother.
And that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Your first project is going to be the one where you'll get through the actual obstacles of hard knocks.
Yeah.
By the time you get to your second one, what you've learned in your first one be applied to the second one. So by the time you get to your third one, now you're able to manage cost on rehab and really make those margins even better.
Yeah.
So that's the whole process you guys have to keep in mind. The hardest thing you can do as an investor is rehab. That's the hardest thing you can do. So you have to make sure either that person who's doing the work is seriously a part of your team and is going to make sure he's looking out for you and not trying to rip you off, or you want to make sure you have somebody on your team, a coach or a mentor, that's going to walk you through that whole process. But you got to make sure that where the most people make the most mistake and lose the most money is on the contracting side of it.
Yeah.
That's the key. You got to really make sure you have that knowledge down pat before you decide to do a rehab to rent. Earn your chops doing wholesaling, understanding how to estimate repairs. And then if you feel as though you're ready, either partner with a contractor, and that's a great way to do it, to actually make a contractor as a partner, so he's bringing in the cost of rehab, you're bringing in the actual deal, and you're splitting everything 50-50.
Yeah.
That's the ideal way to do it. Or have a contractor as an independent contractor, yet he's still part of your team, and you guys are working on the same page. If not that, have a mentor to walk you through the whole thing with holding your hand. Yes?
So I have a question about the acquisition of the property.
Mhm.
Have you ever walked, first of all, what contingencies, if any, did you write into your purchase and sale?
Great question.
And have you walked away from
Yeah.
properties because something wasn't?
So I almost walked away from this one, right? All right, so for every, based on what I learned with Charles, so every offer I put out is an as-is offer, right? With a 7 to 10 day, what do you call it again? 7 to 10, yeah, inspection period, right? So at that point, I have, of course, you have your EMD down, but you can get it back. So I have all these offers out that I have control at this point. So then, like, I'm in there, and even though I have a high estimate, I might have had a contractor come in before. Now we're deep diving into the property, and you might find out certain things. Like I found out there were some structural issues on this property. So I went back to the lender. I was about to pull out, and that's when the price started coming down, which I think I could have got even further down after we talked, but it came down. But I have, so some deals I might not, if I have like too many on hand as well, I could probably come to Charles and say, hey, I'm about to get rid of this, but I'm backing out of that deal within that 7 to 10 day period.
So what do all of our offers look like? One, it has a 10-day inspection clause where we get in there with a contractor and we get in there to do a deep dive of the rehab costs. Two, we're putting as much money down as we possibly can on the EMD.
Yeah.
We're telling the person that it's buying it as is. We want to make sure that that person who has that house know that we're paying all cash. We can close in 30 days or less. My actual lender can close in 2 weeks if we
Yeah.
need to. So we're using all these to back up all of our offers so that the bank would say, we want to work with them. So that's how we're putting our offers in with the bank. And after that, it's just a matter of, okay, you got the deal, or no, you don't got the deal, or we walk through the property and we find something else wrong with it. We go back to the bank, hey, that offer ain't going to stand
Yeah.
because we just found out there's a foundation issue. What are you guys willing to do?
Yeah.
And that's how we deal it. Yes.
Do you guys deal with any like low equity home deals? Is there
Oh.
any way to like make money on it?
The question is, do you deal with any low equity deal? Oh my goodness. Being a transaction engineer is taking any kind of deal and making a profit off of it. Now, what is your definition of low equity? Is your definition of low equity a deal where the seller wants 180 and the property is only worth 190?
So their mortgage loan is like maybe like 500,000.
Mhm.
They've only maybe paid off like 100,000.
Okay, so that means it's basically there's still $400,000 on the deal. On those numbers, the only approach I can see as being a deal there is possibly a rent to own, possibly tenant placement, and possibly those are the only two options I have with that number. If that number was less, let's say that number was 100, because my bread and butter neighborhoods for Baltimore is 150 to 275. Those are the bread and butter neighborhoods for Baltimore. So if it was at a 150 after repair value, that deal I could do guaranteed rent, I could do subject to, I could do tenant placement, I could do rent to own. There's 4 different ways in which a low equity deal would work in those type of neighborhoods and that price point. But because your price point is 500,000, it only gives me 2 options. But there is 2 options in which you can make a deal out of it.
So you wouldn't typically wholesale a home that has really low equity. You need to wholesale a home that's pretty much paid off on the mortgage, or
No, you can wholesale any home. You can wholesale lease options, you can wholesale guaranteed rent, you can wholesale rent to owns. So you can wholesale any home. The key though is your ability to structure it. That's where people really get sidetracked because they only know wholesaling a house to rehab. They don't know you can wholesale tenant placement, wholesale guaranteed rent, wholesale rent to own, wholesale lease option, wholesale subject to. These are other strategies you can wholesale, but most people don't know because their mentors don't teach them that. So yes, you can wholesale in almost any kind of structure. Yes. Any other questions? Yes, my friend.
Don't want to relive a painful subject, but you got hit with a theft of service
Yeah.
situation. Would getting an attorney up front have helped, or what did you actually go through to clear that out? I know you said
Yeah, great. Tell me the
6
resolution.
months.
So the resolution was, so it just came down to, so I tried everything. It was just trying to find the right people to talk to. What it came down to was one day a woman called me and said, "Tell me what happened." And I told her, and she's like, "Yeah, we're stupid. You're out of it. We're done. I'm sorry." That was literally it. Their whole system is just all over the place.
In other words, he got 5 or 6 people that read the same script.
Yeah.
You can't do anything, we can't do anything, we can't do anything, we can't do anything, until they found the person, oh, I see what happened, we can do something.
Yeah.
That was 6 months.
It took, yes. I mean, I left, went on my honeymoon, came back. It was yeah.
If that had happened to me, I'd be looking for the best politically connected attorney and see what he wanted. And probably in a week or so, I would have been cleared.
Okay,
Well,
now,
I look at it.
now let's look at it like this. You keep on using the word probably. So,
And not only that too, like I was looking
Yeah.
at costs and me going to an attorney and having to pay the fees. And I know it didn't, and not only that, yeah, I didn't do anything wrong. And I honestly too, I was working on multiple projects at the same time.
right.
So even though it was costing me, I was just like, all right, this should be cleared up at some point. But it got to a point, you're right, I was frustrated. But I wasn't trying to spend a lot more money. I was trying to condense costs in it. But I get where you're coming from though.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it may have been a
Yeah.
situation where you could probably find the right attorney with the right connections, but you could also probably find the wrong attorney that's going to charge you more money until you find the right attorney. So I ain't gonna say one is right or one is wrong. There is no right or wrong in this scenario because he made a huge profit. He's got the property at the number he's needed to be. He had the cost factored in. He's pulling $8,000 in his pocket at closing. He's got the property at 75 cents on the dollar, so he has 25 cents worth of equity built in already. And he also has $250 to $300 positive cash flow in his pocket. So you can beat yourself up on a lot of things you do in this business. And this is where a lot of people have issues with. They want to find the perfect deal. What's the perfect deal? There is no perfect deal. The perfect deal is the perfect deal for you. Steve would have done it differently and it would have been perfect for him. Norman did it this way and it was perfect for him. So there is no perfect one size fit all on every situation. So the biggest thing that I see that's happening is where people say, I'm learning the business. 3 months later, I'm learning the business. 9 months later, I'm still learning the business. It don't take 9 months to learn this business. It really don't. Real truth be told, on your own, it takes an opportunity for you to jump, but jump with a safety net.
Yeah.
Now, what do I mean by that? Have something there that you can fall on if you make a mistake. For example, the paperwork. Contract says that if I don't find or approve this deal in 7 days, I'll give the property back to you. So you get your contractor in there, you get your actual repair costs, you make sure your numbers make sense, bam, you covered. Contract says that if my partner don't like the project, I can back out of it. Contract says that if this happens or that happened, we got a closed deal. Contract wholesaler. I don't know why everybody isn't jumping into wholesaling. And people are saying, I'm waiting to learn. Wholesaling, your contract says, if you're using the right contract, if I don't go through with this deal, you, the actual seller, can keep my deposit. How much do we put down on properties? We closed one 3 weeks ago where we made $9,000 a wholesale fee, and we put a total of $20 down as deposit. So what I'm scared to lose $20? You as a wholesaler, you're losing at the least 10, 20. If you're working with somebody to know what they're doing, they're going to teach you when you're dealing with wholesaling. And we're not talking about properties that's on the market with a realtor. Because his project, how much you have to put down on this one? The bank REO.
So I'm sorry. What do you say?
How much you have to put down on the bank REO? EMD.
I put that. Well, I wanted to do 5,000, but my real estate agent was just like, just put down 2, so I did.
Right, and this was a bank property. That's the reason why he went high on it.
Yeah.
But when we're dealing with homeowners, my property was a probate deal with a homeowner, and we put $20 down on it. So there's no excuses for you to jump out there and do certain aspects of this business, like wholesaling, as opposed to, and the number one reason why people don't jump is fear.
Yeah.
It's fear.
I mean, yeah, 'cause I jumped and did like, what, 2 at the same time?
Yep. But you had me.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and I was calling him like every day.
I just had a quick question.
Yeah.
I